Hello there, and welcome to the next Alchemize with Alana. Just getting myself organized here. So, Alchemize, what does that really mean? Well, in my world, it means transformation. And also in the coaching world, that has been talked about a lot. And it's really about shifting what feels heavy. And I'm just going to say this. I don't know about you, but the world these days feels very heavy, and there's a lot going on. And so if you're feeling that too, it's totally normal and you're not alone. But it's also about shifting what is relentless or distracting in our lives and reshaping it, transmuting it into fuel for the life and the leadership that you want. We live in a culture that is also addicted to productivity, or at least that's one perception of it. And the busier you are, the more valuable sometimes you appear, but at what cost? And I see it all the time in the work that I do with leaders running on fumes and working long and sometimes odd hours to get things done while they have a quiet moment at home or even staying at the office late. Because they have endless back-to-back meetings, teams are caught in the grind with sometimes unrealistic expectations or confusing messages of real purpose or direction. But busy doesn't mean that real impact is actually being created. Humbly, I sometimes find myself in the very same grind my clients are in. And what I've learned is that productivity without presence just creates burnout. So today we're going to explore what happens when being productive, as you can be, becomes a trap sometimes, and a few things related to that. So one is, how do you reclaim your capacity to lead without focusing on what matters most? How do you have priorities that stick versus just reacting to the loudest or the strongest voice? And also regaining direction so that you don't feel like you're always putting out fires. And what we all forget is that our value is not measured by our calendar. And for those in the audience or those that are watching this recording later, think of your calendar for a moment. Do you have a packed back-to-back schedule? How do you think that is potentially affecting your level of happiness or even fulfillment? So, a few topics we're going to discuss in this one is we're going to touch on a few things that might be a little uncomfortable or necessary truths. So how the addiction to productivity sneaks into leadership, why the culture of busy is stealing results instead of creating them, and how to build real inner spaciousness so that you can show up with presence, not pressure. So if you feel like you've been constantly on, wondering if there's a better way to do things, the objective of this conversation is to give you permission to breathe again. And I'm not having this conversation alone. I'm joined by Mike McCurdy, who is the founder of Brick and Mortar Builders. And Mike, hi, Mike.
Hi, Alana. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Mike, yes. So Mike brings years of experience leading both residential and commercial remodeling projects. And here's a little bit more about Mike. He's a licensed and insured general contracting company specializing in both residential and commercial remodeling. And he's built a reputation for high quality projects and strong leadership with years of experience navigating the pressures of building and growing in a demanding industry. And he knows firsthand the pressures that leaders face to constantly do more, produce more, push harder. And he also knows the personal and professional costs when that pressure goes unchecked. So he's here to share his story, but also his hard-earned wisdom. So, Mike.
Yes.
There you are. Okay. I couldn't see you for a second.
I can see you.
Yeah, okay, good. And just for the audience to know, I have known Mike for a very long time. He's been a client of mine on and off for about 13 years. And so I should know a lot about what I just shared about him because I know a lot about the journey that he's been on. So anything else you want to add, Mike, before we dive in?
Yes, we spent a lot of time in residential and commercial renovations, and we just recently, Brick and Mortar Builders is a rebrand for us. We rebranded as we moved, as we decided to move into other areas of construction. And as I have moved along in my entrepreneurial career, and I actually figured out what I want to do. It's taken a long time, but I actually got to where I want to be and what I want to do. So I just wanted to update everybody with that. We have a lot of other experience as well, and we're moving into other parts of construction development.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and that's a true, because you've been in business for how long now?
We started in 2008.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I was licensed in 2008. I actually started the business mid 2007. So we're in 25 now, so 17 going on 18 years.
Fantastic. Yeah.
We started in the middle of a recession, and we've seen COVID. So we've seen the ups and downs and seen pretty much everything in between. Good times, bad times, which any entrepreneur that is listening to us right now will know. We all have good times and bad times, even if we don't admit to them.
Yes. And the last few years have also, I've observed both in corporate and in entrepreneurs, the way that people approach work, leaders and business owners, is very much on a higher level in terms of availability. It's very back to back, or maybe it's just more visible. I don't know. That's something that is that I think about sometimes. So a question I want to ask the audience as I dive in with Mike is, and put this in the chat, or if you're watching this later on, feel free to chime in later on. But be honest, when somebody asks how you're doing, is your first answer, "Oh, I'm really busy"? Drop a yes or no in the chat and let us know. So, okay, so here's where I want to start, Mike. So some people would argue that productivity is the ultimate measure of leadership. Do you think that leaders or business owners today are hiding behind being busy instead of being effective?
I don't necessarily know if they're hiding behind being busy. I think any entrepreneur is striving to be busy, whether they are a fledgling entrepreneur, they're just starting, or whether they are, far into their entrepreneurial career. I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself, and I know that I feel like I was always striving to be. I have to be doing something. I always have to be doing something, whether it's working in the office, whether it's in the field, or I think my biggest thing for me is working in the office. I have to be productive when I'm in the office. In the field is easy because that's what I'm really, really good at. And that's what comes easy to me. So the easy things, that's not even a big deal. We all have those things as an entrepreneur. There's certain things that we do that just come naturally, that are easy to us and that we enjoy doing. Obviously, we always go towards that stuff because that's easier for us. But the things that are more difficult, which for me, that's being in the office and actually running the business, those are the things that I really beat myself up on and feel like I have to do this, I have to do that, even if I'm kind of spinning my wheels and I'm not really moving very far. And you and I had spoken about that recently.
Yes, which is what prompted this topic to come up. So yeah.
So I don't necessarily know if people hide behind being busy. I just think they feel like for their team, for the people that are watching them, they feel like they have to be busy. They feel like they have to be moving all the time or doing something all the time. I think as you move through your entrepreneurial career, I believe you can kind of start to leave stuff like that behind, where you're not feeling like I don't have to show that I'm busy all the time. I'm being effective. So if I'm being effective and I'm leading effectively, I don't need to look like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm being effective and I'm leading effectively. So that's okay. I don't need to be crazy busy right now. I don't have to look like I'm crazy busy. But just because everybody else is crazy busy doesn't mean I have to look like I'm crazy busy.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I've also noticed sometimes it's how people prioritize their time. And when they have a lot on their plate, everything sometimes feels urgent, right? So do you think the pressure to do this, like to be busy all the time and to sometimes even do it all, I mean, it really depends on, are you a leader at a corporation and you have, the structure that supports you, or are you a founder and an entrepreneur who might not have enough people to support you, so you have to wear a lot of hats? Like, do you think that pressure is more about control and that fear of falling behind?
I don't think it's about falling behind. I think it's just trying to stay on top of things. I mean, whether you're a solopreneur, or you have a small team, or you have a large team behind you, or a medium team behind you, I believe no matter what, no matter how many people you have behind you, no matter how big your team is or how small your team is looking to you for leadership. Your team is looking for you for which direction we're going. Even if that means you've got 500 employees and you have operation managers and vice presidents and CEOs and stuff like that, the people that are under you are still looking to you, because you are the person that started the company. You're the founder. I believe they're still looking to you to, which way are we taking things? How do you want me to proceed? I need the go from you. I don't need you to necessarily babysit me after I get the go or after I get the direction. I'm happy to carry things out, but I need the go from you. So I feel like the entrepreneur in the picture is, yes, I mean, they're feeling the pressure of, I need to be moving the company forward. I need to be moving the company further along than it is right now. Whether you're Microsoft or whether you're, a company with 5 employees, you're always feeling like, I feel like there's a society pressure, there's an entrepreneurial pressure to constantly move your company forward. And I've gotten in the trap before where I was moving my company forward just because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. Not necessarily because it was the right time to do it. Not necessarily because it was the right thing to do at the time, or I was moving in the right direction. Just march on. Let's go forward. Let's do something. Let's do something more than what we're doing right now, because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Right. Well, it's the moving the forward and then also adding more. It's like, once you hit a number, then it's about hitting a higher number. Once you grow to a certain number of employees, now we have to get to another certain number of employees. It's like this constant grind of like more and more and more, adding more, versus.
And that is crushing. That is absolutely crushing. I've been there. I've been through it. Honestly, the last conversation you and I had has kind of rearranged how I'm thinking about things.
Okay.
And my journey over, I should say, the last conversation you and I had has helped to clarify what I've been feeling for the last 3 to 4 years, as I tried to figure out what I really wanted to do, because I wasn't happy where I was as an entrepreneur. I wasn't happy with what we were doing. And just, I've been hunting and pecking and trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to do it in construction or land development or something, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then speaking to you this, I don't know, a few months ago, whatever it was, kind of solidified that and let me, honestly, I know this is the whole reason for your talk with me today, but kind of let me breathe. I was able to back up and go, okay, I don't necessarily have to be moving forward. Even though I feel like I have to be moving forward, I don't have to be moving forward. I need to be moving forward with purpose, as opposed to, just moving forward just to move forward, or just getting more employees just to get more employees and thinking I'm growing, or forcing growth. I guess that's what I'm getting at. You don't need to force growth. You need to give your growth a direction if you do have growth, but you don't need to force it. And I feel like I've stuck myself there. And I would imagine there's probably a lot of entrepreneurs out there that could say the same thing, that, yeah, I've forced things. I've forced things to be bigger, make them bigger, because all I hear about as an entrepreneur is you're supposed to be working towards where you can walk away from your business for a month. You can walk away from your business for 15 days and go on vacation and not have to deal with it.
You're right.
Well, that is not necessarily every entrepreneur's journey. That's not necessarily every entrepreneur's end game for where they're going to end up as an entrepreneur. I don't necessarily want to be a lifetime employee of my company, but at the same time, I also don't want to get stuck in the same trap where I'm forcing growth and where I'm forcing myself to be busy so that we can grow, but it's like we're going in this many directions as opposed to that direction.
Well,
and that was a big lesson for me.
I love it. Well, so you just said, first of all, God, so many things. One is, I see it all the time that entrepreneurs, they create these businesses, sometimes with intention, sometimes by accident. Sometimes they just started something because they were good at something, and then before they knew it, it became their new business. But where do I want to go? So yeah, I see people without intending to end up creating another job for themselves, versus actually, running their business in the way that they ideally want to. Although I think things are happening so fast and so quickly, and they're just trying to keep up with it, and you don't want to let anything fall through the cracks. And so it's kind of like whack-a-mole, right? Like it just constantly staying on top of things. And then before you know it, you're in the grind, and it's hard to get off that hamster wheel.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I'm curious also since you brought it up, based on our last conversation and that new awareness, what's been different for you?
Well, just over the last 4 years, we've taken our company from roughly 22 employees to 1. And that has been partially by necessity, partially by choice, because I wasn't happy with the way things were going. I wasn't happy with the lack of control that I had. I thought I was in control, but I really wasn't. And then just since our conversation, it has let me concentrate on the things I've actually been able to focus, kind of give myself three main areas of focus. We have rebranded, and I have to do certain things in order to get that rebrand going.
Yes.
And I've given myself three main areas of focus, the things that I need to work on a little bit each day. Not, they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be heavy here, heavy here, heavy here. And I actually have 25 things I need to do. But what 3 things do I need to work on that will move my business forward in the way that I want my business to move forward? Now, just for the audience, for your sake and for your audience, yes, pulling back to 1 employee from 22 was a large change, but that was a good change for me, at least. It's maybe not for everybody. People have looked at me like I was crazy. Like, wow, that took a lot for you to do that. And I said, yeah, but I needed to fall in love with what I was doing again, because I wasn't happy with what we were doing. And I needed, and things just got so out of control that I didn't have time to put time into the things that I love to do, into the things that I wanted to do, into the things that I started the business for, because there was another project coming, and then there was another project coming, and then there was a fire to fight, and this, that, and the other. And honestly, I couldn't put the fires out with all the employees, and I couldn't put the fires out with all the jobs. So coming back to 1 employee and myself, let me put all the fires out, concentrate on what I wanted to do, and actually move forward into being a happy entrepreneur again. And yes, that meant a lot less money, but that's okay. I'm playing a long game. I'm not playing a short game. I'm happy to be where I am right now financially. For 3 years from now, for me to actually be doing what I want to do and making the money that I want to make. That's the end game for entrepreneurs. You want to be happy, but also you're here to make money. You're not here for your employees to make money. You're here for yourself to make money. We all go through way too much stress for us to lose sight of that fact. That entrepreneurial business is business. You're here to make money.
Yes. In fact, that I have another client right now that she doesn't pay herself. She hasn't paid herself in years because she puts all the money back into the business. But through the work that we're doing, she's really seeing things now finally and admitting and starting to make those changes. And I also just want to acknowledge what you just shared, because what you've chosen to do is out of the ordinary. And I can see why people would think you were crazy, but at the same time, like that is talk about taking charge again, and not letting anything outside of yourself interrupt like this really powerful decision that you made to do what you're doing and to do it in the way that you're doing it. It's not even necessarily starting over, because you have all this rich experience and lessons, right, to help you and support you move forward, but you're doing it without dragging all this weight behind you.
Yes. And the outward forces, the people that influence you, and you are feeling, as I was doing this, I'm feeling like I need to have these, I need to have all of this stuff. I need to hold on to as much as I can, but I'm doing a much better job of getting back to my roots, getting back to what I like to do. I'm doing a much better job of that when I'm not carrying around a lot of employees that I'm worried about. We all, as entrepreneurs, I think at some point in time or another, maybe not every time, maybe not every entrepreneur, but I think we start worrying about our employees and worrying about our business more than we worry about ourselves. And that is a lesson that I've learned over the last 5 to 6 years. And like I said, we're here for ourselves. It sounds selfish, and okay, fine, call me selfish. But
I think you and I, it's probably been a while, but I think there's a distinction between somebody who is selfish and somebody who is self-centered. And I actually believe that I don't think that people are selfish enough. And it relates to what we're talking about, because when you look at how that translates into the world, then they become a martyr, and they become a martyr to their own business, let alone with other people. But anyway, I want to. Yeah,
this also reflects on larger businesses as well. Somebody like I don't know, Bill Gates, or from Microsoft, or what's the guy's name that runs Amazon? I can't think of his name right now.
Jeff Bezos.
I don't know why.
It's okay.
Jeff
it's okay.
Bezos. Okay. People give large businesses a lot of grief, saying, "Oh my gosh, they treat their employees so bad. Oh, they're laying off a ton of people and blah blah blah." And if there's employees here, I'm gonna be unpopular. But as far as running a business, those employees are going to go back out and find another job, and they're going to keep moving forward. If they held on to that 30,000 employees or something like that, and it ended up tanking the company, now there's no Amazon. Now I know this is an extreme example, but now there's no Amazon, and now 5 million people don't have jobs, or whatever it is. So yes, some losses have to be cut, decisions have to be made, but no matter what, whether it's Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, I know Bill Gates doesn't run the company anymore, but they all had to make decisions, and I'm using extreme examples. My company is nowhere near anything like this, but it's all the same concept. The employees go, the company moves on, and the person that started the company benefits and profits. That's why they started the company. That's why they took the risk. That's why they stayed up sleepless nights. That's why they did the things that they did, and made the sacrifices that they made so that they could benefit from it. The employees are along for the ride, and hopefully they're along for the ride with an entrepreneur, with an employer who does care about them. But the entrepreneur or employer needs to care about themselves more. That's my opinion, and it might be unpopular.
Well, popular or not, it's something to be aware of. And yes, there's all kinds of feelings around it, depending on somebody's position or point of view. But that relates to where I want to go next, in terms of caring and burnout. Like burnout is a topic that's come up a lot. So, around like why busy culture creates burnout instead of results. So here's an audience question. So again, those that are live with us or those that are watching the recording later on, have you ever hit a wall where you're working harder but getting less done? Like, what did that look like for you? So please share with us. We'd love to hear from you. So, so in terms of the busyness, this points to, and you were talking about teams earlier, and I work a lot with teams, and I coach leaders on how they facilitate dialogues and do one-to-ones and get the most out of their team and keep them engaged and energized. But these days, a lot of teams seem to be exhausted and disengaged. What do you think what's the gap that leaders are missing with that?
Well, I think that's going to come from the leader, to be honest with you, because like I spoke of earlier, I know I kind of got off topic, but like I spoke of earlier, I gave myself 3 things that I need to concentrate on. There's actually 25 things. Okay, well, if I try and complete all 25 things each week, I'm ineffective at 25 different things.
Right.
So your team is going to take that as that's how things are supposed to be done. No matter what, they're going to take their cues from their leader. And if their leader is trying to do 20 different things and being effective at all 25 of them, which I guarantee that's what's going to happen, the team is as well going to maybe only be doing 7 to 10 things, but being ineffective at all of them. You've got a project manager, you've got a business manager, and you've got, you have all these people that are below you. But if you're all over the place and you're showing that that's how the business is run and everything's chaotic, it will as well flow down to your team that everything is chaotic. And that's
they're modeling behavior. Yeah.
Yes.
Modeling behavior. Yeah.
Yes. And once things get chaotic, it's very difficult to get out of chaos. It's difficult to leave that behind. It's difficult to rein that in and control that.
Yeah.
And if the owner's doing too many things, the leader's doing too many things, no matter what leader, whether it's a president, CEO, or even just your manager, say everything up here is all great and fine and fantastic, but down here you have several different divisions, and the manager of that division is not leading with purpose, and this is where we're going and this is what we're supposed to be doing, but they're all over the place. That's how the team's going to be, and you're going to have a very ineffective division.
Yep. I had a client who was working not only, of course, during the week, but also all weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And she would stay late, and she's married with children. And the VP, because she's a director, said to her, you can't keep doing this, because you're modeling behavior and saying that this is what's going to be expected of everybody else. And she had never thought about that. She herself felt like she was drowning in so much that she just didn't even think about that. But she's made some amazing, I've been working with her, I have a year contract with her, and she's been making some amazing changes, and she doesn't work weekends anymore. She goes home at 6 o'clock, and she's getting a lot more done. It's sometimes it's about looking at how you prioritize your time and delegation. And she's also changed up a few people that report to her, so that can help too. But something else that I want to bring up that might be a little, I don't know how people might respond to this, but what I've also observed is that sometimes a leader will be busy as a way of avoiding hard conversations or hard decisions. And so they just keep going, they just keep doing, what they think they need to be doing, and really they're avoiding something that needs to change. And I know you and I have worked on a couple of questions that we've used throughout the years that have a different answer depending on what stage of business you're in. And one of them what needs to change. And that gets people realizing, oh gosh, okay. And they finally admit to it. And then, working with someone like myself or a coach can support them in that sometimes uncomfortable process of finally taking action on it. So is there anything that you want to respond to about that?
I feel like I've done that before. I mean, I can think of several times when we did have a full staff, and it felt like every 2 seconds somebody was coming in to ask me a question about something. Now,
Yes.
I'm not going to put that on my employees. I'm putting that on myself. That was ineffective leadership. Absolutely ineffective leadership. I did not have enough didn't have enough processes in place, and just the way things are supposed to be done. I think for most of my entrepreneurial career, up until about 5-6 years ago, I looked at big business and I almost kind of scoffed and kind of put my nose up at it. Well, they have so many rules. They have so much this. They have corporate is so this and corporate is so that. And I want to be a big company, but I don't want all the corporate stuff to go with it. And I almost kind of prided myself on that. But you know why corporate has a lot of stuff? Because otherwise everything gets messed up and there will be chaos. So that's why there's so many rules. That's why they're successful. And I'm sure hypothetically Walmart has gone through this 60 years ago or something like that, where they went from being a mom and pop to being a big corporation, and they had to put the rules in so that the rules and the processes and things like that, so that something happens the same way every single time. And I recently read a book, The E-Myth, which I think that really helped me out with the direction I'm moving in and how I should be doing things, and how rigid the company needs to be in order for a company to be successful. And when I say successful, I'm thinking successful for me. I don't have to be there every single day. I don't have to be involved in every single decision, because I've already made the decisions and put it into a process long before an employee ever had to think about whether they had to make that decision or think about whether they need to come and talk to me about it. And I truly believe that is one of the keys to taking away chaos and helping your business move forward, whether it's you want more money, you want more time, or just whatever, or you just want things to be better. Even if you just have 3 employees, you just want things to run smooth so that you're not stressed out. You're okay taking a modest salary, but you just want things to be so that, I have a business, but I don't have to be stressed out about it. I come into work, everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And for really, really tough things, or for the financials or whatever it is, they come to me. But other than that, my business just kind of rolls along. It's smooth. And I'm cool with 3 people. I'm cool selling $2 million a year, $1 million a year, whatever it is. And I'm cool making $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year, whatever it is. I'm fine with that. That's what I see as success. And I believe every entrepreneur, that should be one of the big things that an entrepreneur should ask themselves is, what do I see as success? What's successful to me? And whatever's successful to you, that's okay. That's what you should be shooting for. You shouldn't be shooting for what everybody else thinks is successful.
Yes.
You don't need to measure yourself against somebody else. You need to measure yourself for what you want to do and how you want things to be. What is going to be successful for me and my company, and what's going to make me happy?
You know what it makes me think about is the question of, what does success mean to you? So I've been coaching for 20 years. And when I first became a coach, that was one of the most practical questions I was taught to ask clients, regardless of whatever coaching niche you're doing. And to me, that it stands the test of time, because even today, it's timeless. Because what I'm hearing from you in this as a reminder is for everybody to check in with themselves on, what does success mean to you? And I remember even when, before I became an entrepreneur and I was still working and I was in sales for a long time. And I remember interviewing, one of my favorite questions to ask the leader that I would potentially be working for was, what would you consider to be your biggest achievement? And then I would shut up. And I listened for, what's important to this person, and how do they, because achievement and success correlate. And there was one time where he said, he had a picture of his family on his desk, but he said nothing about his family. It was all about work and awards that he got. And I thought, that's, and he was talking about how he works, he believes in working really hard and staying late at the office. And I thought exactly what we've been saying. If that's what he does, he's going to expect that from me, and I'm not going to have a life. I didn't go back for another interview. So yeah. Anyway, you want to move on to the next topic?
Okay.
So this one is about practical ways to create inner spaciousness. So here's another audience question. If you had just one extra hour of real breathing room each week, no meetings, no tasks, how would you use it? So if someone out there listening is realizing, oh gosh, maybe I'm one of those people that is addicted to productivity too, like where's the first place, what advice would you give them to interrupt that pattern? I mean, I have some suggestions too, but I want to hear what you might suggest.
Say again for me. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay.
I kind of got lost with that.
Yeah. If somebody is addicted to productivity out there,
Mm-hmm.
where's the first place that they need to interrupt that pattern?
I don't know. That'd be different for every person. I mean, for me, it was, I guess my journey there started like 5 years ago when I started reducing my employees and I started reducing my workload and all that. For me, it was a long process. And what I can answer is what I would spend my extra hour on each week, and that would be reading and learning. That is my favorite thing to do right now, is to learn and read about what other people have been through, read about what other people have done, and see that all entrepreneurs probably follow kind of the same path. They have the same, they have the same stories, maybe different degrees, different whatever, but they have the same stories. And I think, for me, the ultimate interruption was me going from those 25 things that I tried to do every single day down to 3 things. I just picked the 3 most important things that I thought that I needed to do every single day and only spent an hour on them. The rest of the time, it's just me and one other employee. So I spend time in the field as well. And I try to make sure that I get everything done in the field that I need to do in the morning and then shoot back to the office so I can get some office time in. And I've also been coaching wrestling. I just started coaching my son's wrestling team this year. So
that's great. I didn't know that. Yeah.
My work day is over at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Mm.
Now, I'm slowly shifting things so that I have more time to work on them, doing my best to get to bed at a reasonable hour, picking the times that I work in the office. As opposed to working in the office for an hour in the morning and then a couple hours in the afternoon and then time at night. I'm trying to just give myself this is the chunk, wake up early, get off the job site early, get your 3 or 4 hours of office time in the afternoon before you go and you coach wrestling. And that's something that I'm doing experimentation with. And I think an entrepreneur would probably have to experiment with, okay, let's try it this way. And I'm actually trying to keep notes. How am I being effective? Not how am I staying busy. I got no problem staying busy. I've got tons of stuff to do. Some of that stuff has to go by the wayside, and I get to it as I can.
Yep.
But I just had to pick. I had to pick the 3 out of the 25. 25 is an arbitrary number. I have no idea how many things I'm supposed to be doing every day or how many things I need to do every day. I do know that I need to do 3 things every single day and work on 3 things every single day. I work on marketing, I work on my books, and I work on bids. Those are my 3 main things besides being in the field. And I just had to go through everything that I have to do and just say, what's going to move us forward fastest? What's going to keep my head straight for me when I have too much stuff to do? I can't concentrate on anything. So if I just have those 3 things to do, then it's easier for me to concentrate and do well at those things and then come out of a day feeling like I accomplished something.
Yes, I love that.
I try and hit 30 different things or 10 different things or 20 different things each day, and I don't actually finish anything, I am absolutely miserable. And I'm miserable every single day because no, I'm not ever going to get all of that stuff done. And I'm also trying to give myself time limits on everything based on the amount of time that I have.
Well, and something else.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, what I'm really appreciating hearing from you today that's a little different than a lot of our conversations is that it really sounds like you're letting go of beating yourself up like you used to. You're somebody who's really hard on yourself, and I relate. I'm also hard on myself. And if anybody's out there who are like, yeah, are you hard on yourself too? But you're really changing your focus. And I love that you're, saying, I'll feel good knowing that I achieved these 3 things by the end of the day. And the other stuff will get done because our to-do lists are never ending. I don't know about you, but like I'll write stuff down. I keep stuff in my calendar. I have different ways of keeping track of my to-dos. But I love writing something down, and then when I get it done, like crossing it off on the piece of paper and then tearing up that piece of paper and putting it in the trash. I don't know what it is. It's just like this completion thing. It feels really good, but yeah. So
didn't I say after our last conversation that was the most profound conversation I've had with you in either a very long time or ever, even though it was simple. Very, very simple conversation about just kind of take a deep breath, chill out. And from that conversation, from our talk for an hour and a half, whatever it was, I have been able to focus more. I've been able to get myself off the I'm doing this many different things and going in this many different directions. And now I'm just pointed north, or I'm pointed east or west or south, whatever it is. But I'm pointed in one direction. I have things that are going to help me get in that one direction. And I just picked out the 3 things that I feel like I need to do. Is that going to be stagnant? No, that's not going to be stagnant. That will, I'm sure, change at some point in time. And I do have intentions on eventually hiring employees again. I'm not intending on just being myself and one other employee for the rest of my life. That's not the way my business. It's not the way my business mind works. It's not the way I see myself as business. It's not the way I see myself as being happy. What I do see myself as being happy, somebody David had asked me in the chat, what would make me happy? Well, not necessarily a number of employees or any number for making money, but the things that I want to do. And what I've realized over time is I'm good in the field. I'm good at coming up with ideas. What would make me happy is to not have to run the business, is to do the fun parts of the business, is to go out and talk to people and put deals together, and maybe not necessarily run the job sites all the time, but definitely go out, be the person that's putting the deals together as I move further into land development and a development of properties and things like that. I want to be that person that does that. That's what makes me happy. It makes me happy to talk to people. It makes me happy to get my mind moving. It does not make me happy to sit in the office and do bids, bills.
You've never liked it.
I've never liked those things. It does not make me happy to do marketing either, to be very honest with you. Those are the things that I need to do right now where my business is to move my business forward. But this is, like I said earlier, this is a sacrifice now for the end game, or not necessarily the end game. There is no end game.
No.
But where I want my business to be in 3 years, where I want my businesses to be in 3 years. And that's another thing that I've also backed off on. I thought to be successful, I needed multiple businesses and multiple revenue streams, but never actually finishing the revenue stream that I was working on. And it just too much. It was just too much going around in here, too much for me to actually concentrate and be good at any one thing. And that's why I pulled back to one business. The other businesses are still there. I'm just not doing anything with them anymore. But I pull back to one business, and I can achieve everything I want to do with just one business. I don't have to have three or four different businesses or something like that. at some point in time if I decide to open another one. But the first business needs to be moving forward and doing it on its own before I can go out. I've got this tendency to just want to. I want to do a lot. I want to see a lot. I want to explore a lot, and that's just my nature. I mean, you've seen me off in 100 different directions.
Well, that's one of the
one
things.
conversation, 100 different ideas will come out of me.
Well, you're visionary. You're visionary. This is what I love about the people that I get to work with is that you guys are all so visionary. It's just that sometimes it's sort of like squirrel, like, you can find yourself scattered. You don't know what to focus on. Sometimes you create multiple businesses, but how do you scale all of them at the same time? It's and that's why people like you create businesses like you've created. So there's a question in the chat that I also would love the answer to. Somebody asked, what keeps you renewing with me as a customer, as a client?
Because she challenges me. She has within the first 6 months to a year, she helped me get past myself. There wasn't anything holding me back except for myself. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs can probably say the same thing. I was afraid to fail, but actually, Alana taught me that being afraid to fail was actually being afraid to succeed. And I realized that because I was so afraid to move forward with, okay, well, I've got 2 projects and I don't think I can handle any more than that. Now, this is back then. I can handle way more than 2 projects now. But back then when I first started, I was 4 years in when I first met Alana, and we were fresh, not even out of the recession yet. And in 2013, I almost gave up something that was eventually $2.5 million in income each year, easy income each year. I almost gave it up because I had 2 other projects running. And if I hadn't have been speaking to Alana at the time and she hadn't have imparted some of that wisdom to me, get it, worry about it later. Get it and figure it out later. Get it and actually put together what you need to do later, but don't give up on something like that. And I didn't. I seriously almost turned down $2.5 million in revenue each year. That was at the time $1,000 a year. I was selling $200,000 a year, and that project ended up being a steady $2.5 million a year for probably 7 or 8 years or something like that. 2013 all the way up to 2020.
Well, and if I may, what I remember from that too, and I hope the audience will glean from this as well, is what was preventing you was you said, I haven't done that before. I haven't done a job like that before. And I was like, so? So what? Like that, right? It's like, do you want to grow and challenge yourself? And you could have said no for that reason, if we didn't make it about the money, but you worked through it and look what happened. And it was amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it was amazing. And we learned a lot. I learned a lot. And it kind of cut my teeth. I'm initially, when that project went away at COVID, I was very, very unhappy, very, very sad about it. But also, I've grown so much since I left the project. Just as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as knowledge in the construction industry, I've gone from where I was 6 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever it was, to where I am now, which I feel like my knowledge base is much broader. I feel like I have grown as an entrepreneur. I feel like I've learned a lot about running a business I wasn't learning when I had that easy money. I know that sounds completely ridiculous because yes, we'd all like to start a business and then easy money just flowing our way.
Yeah, but that's unrealistic. Yeah.
Huh? It is very unrealistic because business is hard. But and I realized after I left there that was fantasy land.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normally like that. In any business you have, it's not normally like that. You have to work a lot harder than I was actually working. I worked to keep that job. I worked to make money at that job. I worked to make that project better for us by fine-tuning things. Now, I didn't see at the time, I didn't see what I was actually really good at. I was really good at repetition, and I was really good at going from this is our profit to we are better. And we actually grew our profit by 8 times or something like that at that place.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Over the course of 7 years.
Yeah.
And the project got bigger, but also I imparted and made that project grow bigger, and made our profits grow bigger by really dialing in what we were doing. And we had that dialed in within the first few years. Sounds like a long time, but it was a lot of things to dial in. But we were making good money, and we weren't just making good money because we were just there and they were throwing it at us. We were making good money because we dialed things in and we were doing them well and correctly. And honestly, Alana, I didn't realize some of this stuff until I read the book, The E-Myth, because they're talking about what do you call it? Gosh, why can't I think of the word right now? Franchises. They're talking about franchises.
Oh, yes.
Franchises do well because they are doing the same thing over and over again. Well, I realized reading that book, that's why I was doing so well. That's my calling. I need to figure out what I can do over and over again. And this has taken me 18 years to figure out. Even when I was in the middle of it and doing well at it, I didn't realize that was where I needed to be, and
there's a question in here kind of related to what you're talking about. Like what was the key to growing profit 8 times over 7 years? What do you think was contributed to that?
Just doing things better, keeping labor low, overhead low, and just learning how to run a project that was, I guess, basically in a sense franchising it. We were making many prototypes over time. We were doing the same thing over and over again, but every time we did it, we got better at it. And that's not just me. That was my team. My team there was also doing everything they could. They saw that we were successful. They saw that we were being more successful. We were getting more successful. And as we move forward, the team that was there was doing better and better and better. And they would make suggestions, or I'd be there and I'd make suggestions. But just getting all those people in line to keep doing it and doing it better each time until we had it, where we wanted it, where it was doing well. That was a key to making more money and being able to do much, much better at that project.
Well, and you're also, so the comment follow up to that is that it's repeatable and scalable. Yes. And it gave your team and you in some ways opportunity to become like it's mastery. They did it repetitiously so many times. It gave them an opportunity to become masters at doing that. There's some tasks can cause boredom and cause people to not be energized or engaged. But, this was a little bit different. I remember observing that with your team too. It was like, when's the next one coming? When's the next one coming? In that commercial project that you had that lasted a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. And I feel like that in my career as an entrepreneur was as close to some of the stories they tell in the E-Myth and Ray Kroc, and where you're trying, where you're actually making a prototype for basically a prototype for success, a prototype to hone in and focus in. And I know some entrepreneurs are going to look at it and go, I can't do that. That's boring. And that's exactly how I felt when I was there. I felt like this is boring and I'm not growing. I was actually learning how to do something and do it well that would now lead into what I'm working on now. I just didn't realize it, but that taught me repeatable things. They don't have to be boring. I'll be doing something repeatable, just on a much larger scale. and building prototypes of those repeatable things on a much larger scale.
So to start to wrap up, there was a question earlier about wisdom that you would impart on younger entrepreneurs who might want immediate gratification, that, they might not want to make the initial investment, time, money, whatever. And, because people want things now. We've been taught that, like even the technology that we have, everything's so immediate. Texting, like, communicating with people, like they text if someone texts you, they expect you to text them right back. And anyway, so what wisdom would you impart for entrepreneurs these days that are young, getting started, from what you've learned?
I don't think there is any instant gratification. I mean, there is no instant gratification in entrepreneurship. Although, yes, social media totally skews these things and makes everything seem easier, makes everything seem better, makes everything seem greater than it actually is. Even the people that are struggling, they can put stuff out on social media making things look great, even if it's not. And that's powerful. That's very powerful, because nobody wants to go along with the person that's losing. People want to go along with the person that's winning. So social media is a great thing to actually move things forward for yourself, even if you're just starting off. You can make your company that you just started 2 seconds ago seem like a big, large, great company with social media.
Oh, yes.
And perhaps you'll move along fast, but I mean, honestly, if you don't have a ton of experience as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, it's best to move a little slow. My personal opinion. The first few years, the first couple of years are going to be difficult no matter what, whether you're winning or not. Even if you grab some big contract and you're moving along and things are cranking along and you're making money, there is a price to pay for that. For the money you're making, there's a price to pay. There's stress. There's being overworked. There's honestly really just kind of moving along without really knowing where you're going. Just kind of stumbling along. I'm going to say, I'm going to be honest. I just kind of stumbled along for a while, and I think there's probably a lot of entrepreneurs out there, although nobody wants to admit it, there's probably a lot of entrepreneurs out there that just kind of stumbled along for a while. I'm not saying I stumbled along until, 5 years ago. I didn't, but I did just kind of stumble along for a while. Didn't really just took whatever I could, did whatever job we could. But that's also part of the beauty of needing to grab whatever you can, because as you're needing it, as you need to grab whatever you can, you're learning, you're taking that in, you're taking in not only hardship and how to make things work when things are difficult, but you're taking in what's going to be next for you. Okay, so we took that project that we really didn't want, that we really didn't like, or we had to take that because we had to make payroll. We had to take that because we had to do this. We had to take that because I had a mortgage to pay. It's just me. I had to go and do something I really didn't want to. All right, well, first of all, you had to do the grind. You had to make a sacrifice in order to keep your business going and to keep your business alive, to keep your family going, whatever it is. We're doing this for ourselves and for our families. And you had to make some kind of sacrifice in order to do that. Well, being an entrepreneur, sacrifice is number one on your list of things you're probably going to have to do at some point in time. You are going to have to make a sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice your time. You're going to have to sacrifice your sanity. You're going to have to sacrifice your family for a little bit. You're going to have to you are going to have to sacrifice something. You're going to have to pick. What do I need to sacrifice in order to make this business work? And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and somebody shared, fail fast, learn fast, and part of, what you're saying too, is failure. You're going to have to fail so that, it's experimentation, it's A/B testing. Right. I wish all of us could go into entrepreneurship and creating a business where from the get-go, we knew exactly, who our audience is, what our niche is, who we're serving, what the product is, what the service is, know how to price it. We have all the systems in place. We've got the right employees. Operationally, things are running smoothly. The customer journey, the client journey that you're bringing people on. You know how to keep your employees, keep your customers, like all of that. But when you start a business, you don't know any of that. You may have learned it from a previous experience, but when you start something new, you got to figure it all out. And as much as I worked for startups in my past life in sales, that's what I did before coaching, and they failed. I wish I could tell the story that I worked for a startup that went public and I made all this cash, but instead I learned a lot by observing firsthand, because in a startup, I usually had access to the CEO as a small organization, and we're wearing a lot of hats. So I learned so much from the failure of those companies to then utilize that for, doing this kind of work with amazing people like you. So, yeah. Wonderful. Anything else you want to add before we go?
I'm sure I would have some more stuff. I don't know. Not really offhand. I think I did, and then I forgot, but I'm getting old, so that happens.
I know, I hear you. Yeah. And then there's menopause. At least you don't have to go through that.
No, I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, no, thank God. But anyway, well, Mike, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and your company?
As I said, we just rebranded ourselves, Brick and Mortar Builders, and it's brickandmortarbuilders.com. And then also my LinkedIn. I don't put a whole lot on there right now, to be honest with you, but that's part of my marketing stuff. I'm working to actually start being involved in LinkedIn again. I was a little ways back, and maybe 4 or 5 years or something like that when I was starting another business. But now I am getting myself reacquainted with the social media thing and the marketing thing. And part of that is because I do want to be involved in that. I at least want to know before I assign it to somebody else, before I just farm it out to someone else. I want to know how to do these things before I give it out, before I give it out to somebody else. Didn't have real good luck giving it out to other people in the past. And now I want to be involved in it. So brickandmortarbuilders.com or on my LinkedIn. I don't post a whole lot on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay. Yep. Well, and I've been learning a lot about that too. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. It's a whole different world these days than it was even just 5 years ago. So anyway, thanks, Mike. So for the rest of you, I appreciate this conversation that I was able to have with Mike. And I know I didn't say it before, but Mike is somebody who, you probably heard it in our conversation. He loves his family. Family comes first. He has high integrity, and he really cares about what he's doing. And he's very visionary. So those are the things that I love about the people that I get to work with. But I appreciate the fact that we were able to have this conversation, because this particular conversation is one that a lot of leaders do avoid. But yet when they have it, it sets them free. Like there's a sense of freedom that they experience from finally allowing themselves to engage in it and admit things out loud and then take action on it. So, hopefully everybody that was listening today takes at least one small step toward releasing the pressure to always be productive, being that you got something from this conversation. Other things, if this conversation resonated with you, please head over to my website and sign up for my newsletter. I'll be announcing, other lives for Alchemize with Alana or my podcast, Defy Limits. I'm also going to be hopefully launching a community membership in the next few months, in addition to some things about coaching and the work that I do with clients. And then also head on over to my business page at I Love My Life Coaching on LinkedIn and give it a like to stay connected and learn about upcoming episodes and things like that. And Jesse, thanks Jesse for dropping those in the chat. Other than that, thank you for being here with us, whether it was live or later on in the recording, and wishing you all not just productivity, but fulfillment and success. So Until next time, I'll see you on the next Alchemize with Alana.